All right, let's talk about something that's, well, it's kind of the nightmare scenario for any IT pro. Resurrecting Active Directory after a total disaster. This is about more than just having backups. It's about knowing exactly which restore process to use when things really hit the fan. So let's get into it.
I want you to picture this for a second. Alarms are going off, your phone's blowing up, services are down, and one of your key domain controllers has just vanished. It's completely offline. The pressure is on, big time. Your next move is absolutely critical, but the right answer? It totally depends on why that server died in the first place.
And really, it all boils down to two very different problems. On one hand, you might have a fried motherboard or a dead hard drive. That's a hardware problem, and it has a standard fix. But on the other hand, what if someone accidentally deleted an entire department's user accounts? Whoops. That's a whole different kind of disaster, and it needs a very special tool. Okay, so let's start with the most common scenario, simple hardware failure. Your server is just a smoldering piece of metal. This is where we use what's called a non-authoritative restore. I like to call it the catch-up restore.
A non-authoritative restore is your go-to, your default, mainly because it's safe. You bring the server back from its last backup, but you're not telling the network that this old backup is the absolute truth. Not at all. You're just giving the server a starting point so it can talk to its friends and get back in sync.
Here is the perfect way to think about this. Imagine a new person starts on your team. You hand them the company handbook, but it's from 6 months ago. That's our backup. Now, they know things have probably changed. So what's the first thing they do? They turn to their new colleagues, the other domain controllers, and ask, hey, what did I miss?
And you can see how this plays out right here. Everything's fine, all the servers are in sync, then boom, one of them fails. You restore it from that old backup. As soon as it comes back online, its first job is to call up its replication partners and say, hey, I'm back, but man, I am out of date. And then all the other servers just send over all the changes that happened since that backup was made. Simple as that.
So this is the most important thing to get. The restored server is a receiver. It's not a sender. It just listens, it learns from its peers, and it catches up to whatever the current state of the directory is. It never ever tries to force its old information on anyone else.
But what happens when the problem isn't a dead server? What if the problem is human error? This is where that nice, safe catch-up approach can go spectacularly wrong. And you need something way more powerful. You need a time machine.
Yeah, that sinking feeling in your stomach. It wasn't a hardware failure this time. An admin, maybe a junior admin, maybe even you on a bad day, just accidentally deleted a critical user account. Or worse, an entire OU with hundreds of users. It's gone.
Now, if you tried that normal catch-up restore here, you'd be in for a huge, frustrating surprise. You'd restore the server from a backup where that user still exists. But the second it reconnects to the network, its partners would say, oh, hey, welcome back. By the way, you missed an update. We deleted that user. And your newly restored server would just say, oh, okay, and delete the user all over again, completely undoing all your hard work.
To fix this, you have to pull out the big guns, the authoritative restore. This is a very deliberate, very powerful procedure where you basically declare to the entire Active Directory network that this object you're bringing back from the dead, it is the one true version, and every other server had better accept it.
So if the catch-up restore is a new employee asking what's new, the authoritative restore is the CEO walking into the room, slamming a memo on the table and saying, this is the new reality. It doesn't ask, it tells. It broadcasts to all the other domain controllers. You know that deletion you have on record? Forget about it. This user is back. End of story. Now what's really interesting is how you do this. You actually start with a completely normal, non-authoritative restore. You get the server back to a state before the deletion happened. But, and this is the absolute key, before you let it talk to anyone else on the network, you use a powerful little command line tool called ntdsutil to mark that specific user account, or OU, as authoritative.
So how does that even work? Well, it's not magic, but it is pretty darn clever. Under the hood, every object in Active Directory has a version number, called an update sequence number, or USN. The ntdsutil tool just massively inflates that number, adding 100,000 to it. So when your restored server finally reconnects, all the other servers see this object with an enormous version number, and they have no choice. They just have to accept it as the newest, most correct version. The undeletion wins.
Okay, great. So you've brought the user back. Mission accomplished, right? Well, not quite. Can they actually log in and do their job? This brings up a really critical and often overlooked part of the puzzle: repairing all of their connections.
You see, restoring a user account is one thing, but restoring all its relationships is another. A user isn't much use if they can't access any files or applications because all their group memberships are gone. These connections are called backlinks, and in the early days of Active Directory, they would just shatter during a restore. It was a huge manual cleanup nightmare. Thankfully, the tools for this have gotten a lot better over the years. Back in the Windows Server 2000 days, it was a painful, manual process. Then with Server 2003, we got some automatic repair, but it had some serious limitations. It really wasn't until Server 2003 Service Pack 1 that the tools got smart enough to reliably fix pretty much all of those broken backlinks.
So, you can see how there are a lot of little details that matter here. It's not just a single restore button. With all that in mind, let's just boil it all down into a super simple decision guide.
This table right here, it sums everything up perfectly. You've got hardware failure, use the non-authoritative restore. Your goal is just to catch up. The server listens and learns. You have an accidental deletion, you need an authoritative restore. Your goal is to turn back time for one specific thing. And the result is that your server dictates the new truth to everybody else.
So, if you're going to remember just a few things from all this, let it be these. Non-authoritative is your everyday tool for dead hardware. It's all about listening. Authoritative is your special surgical tool for undoing deletions. It's all about dictating. And no matter which one you use, never, ever forget to think about the side effects, like those all-important group memberships.
And that's really the point, isn't it? Knowing the difference between these two types of restores is the absolute foundation of a solid AD recovery plan. It forces you to think beyond just if you can restore and makes you consider what you're restoring and why. So the real question to ask yourself now is, how truly prepared is your own environment for both of these scenarios?